Hi, I'm Geneva and I'm an educator at the Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute. Today, I am at the Smithsonian Environmental Research Center, also called CERC. It's a huge campus in Edgewater, Maryland, where scientists and students come together to collect data and conduct research on things all focused around the environment. But it goes even beyond this campus, where scientists and students travel to Alaska, Belize, Australia, Antarctica, and all over the world to learn more. We're about to meet Calli, a research technician in the Coastal Disease Ecology Lab here at CERC. As part of her unZOOsual career, she is studying the wildlife around the Chesapeake Bay in the hopes that it can tell us a little bit more about the health of the environment and maybe even our own health. Before we meet Calli, there are 3 clues I can tell you about her career. 1, she uses camera traps and other technology. 2, she spends a lot of time outside. And 3, she works with some pretty stinky substances, including otter poop. Let's go ahead and meet Calli and get the inside scoop on her career.
Hi, I'm Calli Wise, a research technician at the Coastal Disease Ecology Lab at CERC. I'm in charge of managing our field projects and I work with river otters. To study river otters, we have to find their latrines, which are bathroom areas they use on land between October and March. We find latrines for 2 main reasons. We want to collect river otter poop and we want to place remote cameras. We use the poop to study diet and parasites, and we use the cameras to study their behavior. And we're comparing those things in urban and rural areas.
What does your typical day look like?
Otter field season is October through March. That's because in October, mothers and babies start traveling around, and in March is breeding season. So during field season, I work some really early mornings starting around 7 a.m. I'll drive to my field site and hike with a buddy until we find a river otter latrine. When I'm looking for latrines, I use investigative skills like sight and smell, and I start by looking at research surveys to figure out where otters are likely to use the shoreline. I then scout on foot, looking for spaces where otters are going in and out of the water, and sniff around and see if I smell anything fishy. That fishy smell is what otter poop smells like. At that latrine, I note signs of river otter activity. So scat, tracks, trails, any indication that they're using the land. We collect any fresh scat that's there. We then place a camera or change the SD card and batteries of the camera that are there to make sure it's good to go for the next month until we return to that field site. So when otters are not active out in nature, I process my samples and do genetics in the lab. We mix up the scat samples we've collected and take a small piece to analyze for DNA. We clean and prepare that DNA and get back results that let us see what food and what parasites were in the sample. We're here at a river otter latrine at CERC. We've learned from these photos that they eat lots of fish, some very large, as big as half their body, but many very small, about 2 inches long. We also know that otters are using some really urban spaces. We've got photos of them in Annapolis and Baltimore and reports of them in DC. We also have some really cool footage of raccoons on this exact dock stealing fish, very large fish from river otters, and we call that kleptoparasitism. So this is a river otter latrine. They come up on land and go to the bathroom right in front of me. So we placed a camera trap here, aiming toward where they usually are found. And that's how we monitor their behavior using photos. So you want to be really careful around any kind of scat. You don't know what's in it, but I'm trained to pick it up safely. As a researcher, we wear PPE, personal protective equipment. For this situation, that's gloves. We also don't touch the scat directly. We use the bag to pick it up, kind of like you would dog poop. And part of that is because there are parasites in the scat, some of which are here in a vial. We don't actually know what most of the parasites are yet, but they're highly likely parasites that belong in fish that the otter's just eating and collecting and then pooping out for us to find. So the otter does the work of surveying the local environment, and we get to collect that data in their poop at latrines.
What does studying scat tell us about the environment?
The diet and parasites are all part of biodiversity in the environment. Otter scat gives us a snapshot of what's going on at this moment in time, and we monitor the change over time, which tells us about the health of the ecosystem.
What is something surprising you've learned in your research?
So parasites are actually a really good thing. Parasites add a lot of diversity and they help regulate species and balance the ecosystem. They can create host behavior changes and reduce the abundance of certain things. It's kind of like how an apex predator can impact an environment, but a little more gross.
What was your pathway to this career?
So I got a Bachelor of Science in Wildlife Conservation and then did a bunch of seasonal part-time work. I worked as a wildlife research assistant, worked as a GPS technician doing cover crop surveys. I worked as a goat herd, trailering around 178 goats for a summer, and then was a PA DCNR ranger. I then got my Master of Science in Applied Ecology and Conservation Biology, and then was hired here at CERC in 2022 as a research tech.
What sparked your interest in this career?
So I initially thought I was going to be a wildlife artist, and then my geoenvironmental science teacher in high school encouraged me to go into research, and I've been on that track ever since.
What skills are important for a research technician?
It's really important to be open to trying new things and admit if you don't know things or if you need help. Asking questions is the most important thing you can do. It's a really good way to learn new skills.
What is the best part of your career?
So I get to work with some really great people, and I get to do a lot of different things from fieldwork to lab work to writing that keep my days really interesting.
What advice do you have for those interested in this career?
First, it's really okay to not know what you want to do or to change your mind after you think you do know. It's also really important to build connections with the people in your life, teachers or scientists that you look up to that have positions that you might enjoy. Taking a variety of classes while you're in school or volunteering will really help you learn what you do and don't like about different jobs.
Thank you for joining me as we learned about another unZOOsual career. I loved meeting Calli and learning about her work. You can practice being a researcher too. Use sight and smell just like Calli does when finding those river otter latrines. Use all of your senses in order to observe the natural world around you. Don't forget to share and record your findings with friends and family or in a science journal. I hope you liked meeting Calli as much as I did. I'll see you next time.